from Maryland State DOT MTA for joining us this morning so we can learn a little bit more about what's going on with the Purple Line. I know my husband asked me, what's going on with the Purple Line? And it's like, well, good question. So we're going to find out at this meeting this morning. So Susan.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Susan Rudishan. I'm chair of the Economic Development Committee, and we have a distinguished speaker this morning, Vernon Hartsock. He is from Maryland Department of Transportation, the Maryland Transit Administration, and acting director for the Purple Line, which may be the longest title in the history of Maryland. He is going to fill us in on the activities going on the Purple Line between Lyttonsville and Brookville Road and Wayne Avenue and Fenton Street in downtown Silver Spring. I have not had a chance to go through your bio yet, Vernon, so if you would like to elaborate on your background, that'd be great. And then you can start your presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Susan. Yes, good morning, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity to present to the Greater Silver Spring Chamber of Commerce. Again, Vernon Hartsock, acting project director for the Purple Line. I've been working on the Purple Line now for just coming up on about a year. Prior to that, I was MTA's chief engineer, and I've served with Maryland Transit for 29 years. And prior to that, I was in private industry, working for 10 years in various technology positions and taught college. And right now, I'm just very excited to be part of the team delivering the Purple Line project and welcome this opportunity to provide updates and answer questions. If I can't answer a given question, because with 16 miles of things going on, there's lots of detail, I would certainly follow up with Jane to supply any follow-up information that could be distributed to our attendees. So with that, I'll begin, if that's in order. And starting with our, if we can put up the slide presentation, please. Our host is, I believe, going to do that. Okay. All right, very good. All right, well, let's progress to the next slide. That's our title sheet, starting with project status. Okay, very good, thank you. So currently, after the departure of the Purple Line Transit Constructors, known as PLTC, they were the design builder. We have a P3 contract where we have a concessionaire who's Purple Line Transit Partners, PLTP, and the design builder that was part of this arrangement was PLTC. After they did depart the project, and after they departed, the MDOT MTA demonstrated our continued commitment to keeping the Purple Line moving forward by assuming the management of over 150 contractors. All the contractors and subcontractors that were working for PLTC are now being directly managed by the MTA during what we call an interim period, whilst we are soliciting, or PLTP is soliciting, for a replacement design build contractor. So again, we took over the management of the construction to keep things moving forward. And right now, the interim construction is focusing on utility relocations. Because whenever you build a rail line, before you can lay the track and all those railroad type infrastructures, you have to get all the underground obstacles out of the way that would otherwise conflict with the construction we're doing. So by focusing on utility relocations, we are de-risking the project, creating a more attractive work opportunity for the incoming design builder so that they can do their construction unimpeded by these utilities. And so we have active work zones in Bethesda, Silver Spring, Long Branch, University Boulevard, University of Maryland, Riverdale Park, and Glen Ridge, New Carrollton. Next slide, please. Now let's getting into a little bit more detail in the Lyttonsville area. Utility relocations have been the primary focus in Lyttonsville. Work to still occur includes the overhead power relocation on Talbot Avenue, the sewer relocation at the end of Kansas Avenue. And both the Lyttonsville and Talbot Avenue bridges remain a priority, but they'll be finished by the new design build contractor once they're brought on board. So again, we're continuing work until that contractor comes on board then major construction work such as these bridges will be completed by that incoming design builder. Next slide, please. Here we see some photos of actual construction work. Amazingly, as you travel the alignment today, you see there's about 25 crews across the alignment actively engaged in construction. So don't for a moment think that the Purple Line has paused. Construction is in full swing under our management again. And these photos here are showing work we're doing in Lyttonsville. On the left, we see an arrangement where we have supportive excavation to support the installation of that's a new water line going in. And on the right picture, we see overhead utility relocations. Often you see a whole array of these boom trucks that are out there coordinating the work together to move the utility lines, because the way we do these things, we install new poles and then we transfer lines from the existing poles to the new poles, and they work from the top down. It's a certain order to things, and it's an amazing orchestration of activity that they do. Next slide, please. In the downtown Silver Spring area, multiple utilities will be relocated along Bonifant Street, including water, sewer, gas, and underground and overhead electric. On Bonifant West, from Ramsey Avenue to Georgia Avenue, that's going to remain closed until the completion of construction. When it reopens, it will remain a one-way street. Bonifant East will have parking impacts along both sides of the road for gas and water utility work. However, at least one sidewalk will be maintained at all times during construction, and ADA compliance, very importantly, will be maintained. Public notifications will be distributed prior to any lane or sidewalk disruptions. We're very strict about that with our construction team to make sure those public notifications are issued in proper advance of the work to happen. Individual outreach will be done to businesses that may be impacted by the construction. And at the end of the slideshow, I'm going to give the contact information for our business engagement office. Next slide, please. On Bonifant West, sewer relocation work is going to resume. There's been a little delay on that. It's not going to happen now. It's going to happen in like April 1st, actually, under the parking garage. That's going to last for 4 months. And during this time, the parking garage will remain open, but only be accessible via Dixon Avenue. Verizon relocations have started at Georgia Avenue and Bonifant Street and will continue to move west towards Ramsey Avenue. And as you see, the photo on the right side there shows the work in progress for utility relocations in the area. Next slide, please. This is a view showing the future finished arrangement of how the Purple Line will exist along with traffic and pedestrians for the Bonifant Street West. And this is our cross section of that, showing this arrangement. I think it'll be very nice. Next slide, please. On Bonifant East, test pitting is taking place to locate underground utilities on Bonifant East, and has been ongoing between Georgia Avenue and Fenton Avenue. You see, before we do work, we have to make sure that we know what's in the ground. And apologize for those who are very up to speed on these things. I like to give a little background sometimes for everybody's benefit. And so we do test pitting to explore what's really there, because oftentimes, utilities may have been installed decades ago and sometimes aren't captured on as-built drawings. And so we need to know what's there before we dig into the ground, because we like to avoid encountering utilities and causing disruptions as much as possible. And so water line relocations have been ongoing since December 21st, and that's anticipated to last about 4 months between Georgia Avenue and Fenton Street. Utility owners will notify their customers directly should there be any impacts to service. So if your water line, for example, is being relocated and there's going to be a small disruption, the water utility will notify the owner or the user customer properly. And following the water line relocation, sewer and gas line relocations will begin. I mean, you'd be amazed. You'd think this is a railroad project, but there's such a large component of the work in utility relocations. It's amazing. Next slide, please. Now we see the cross-section depiction of Bonifant Street East in its final arrangement, where the purple line again will go alongside of traffic and pedestrians. And again, I think it will come out very nicely. Next slide, please. For Bonifant Street West long-term closure update, the closure of Bonifant Avenue West occurred on May 11th of 2020. Once reopened, Bonifant Street will permanently be a one-way westbound street. Local access will be maintained for pedestrian and vehicular traffic to access parking garages and surrounding buildings. And you see the diagram there showing that arrangement. Next slide, please. For Wayne Avenue, utility relocations have been the primary focus along Wayne Avenue. Crews will be relocating water, sewer, Verizon, that's telecommunications, and gas services. Overhead power relocation is 95% complete. Removal of the old poles still needs to occur. Recall I said that we install new poles, then we transfer the existing utilities from the old poles to the new poles, then we remove the old poles because the old poles, they're right in the way where we have to build the track. So that works out very nicely when done in order. Next slide, please. Now we have some photos showing activity along Wayne Avenue, some of the utility relocation work. You notice that, whenever we do work, you see all the traffic cones and signage. This is called MOT, maintenance of traffic. And so in addition to planning what work we're doing, we have to have an approved plan showing how we are going to redirect vehicular and pedestrian movements safely through the area. So there's a lot of parts that go into just doing anything in the field. It's amazing and it's very exciting. You see in the right photo there again, an excavation vehicle surrounded by workmen, all in their proper personal protective equipment with maintenance of traffic. And also you'll notice that our workmen are using the proper COVID PPE as well, which is another important aspect of working today that we have to comply. Next slide, please. Rock Creek Park, the CCT, the Capitol Crescent Trail, and the LRV, which is light rail vehicle, we deal in so many acronyms. It's just endless, but it's good. The CCT and LRV bridges will continue east over Rock Creek. Their status on the CCT bridge, MDOT MTA is finishing the substructure concrete work. That's like the abutments where the bridges tie into at each end and certain other portions. For the LRV bridge status, girders were set prior to PLTC's departure. Girders, again, very huge construction elements that support the structure of the bridge itself. Both bridges will be finished by the new design build contractor once they are brought on board. Rock Creek Trail is currently open with no impacts. And once work resumes, intermittent closures will be needed. Let me stop a moment here and just mention about this. I've said a lot of times, the incoming contractor coming on board. Let me assure everyone that we have a complete team of MTA as well as PLTP folks dedicated to that resolicitation for the new design builder. There are probably a dozen meetings every week that's taking place working through the various elements of this. And right now, just to mention, it's not in the slideshow here, I'll just say that we're in the phase known as statement of qualifications, where we're reviewing with PLTC qualifications that have been submitted to us by very capable construction firms with worldwide experience and railway experience. And let me just say, without getting into too many detail, we are very excited about the competitive responses we are receiving to our solicitation opportunities. So we're very confident that we'll secure a very qualified new design builder. And again, I'll mention that we hope to conclude that, bringing them on board in about September of this year. So things are moving very fast on that. And again, while that's happening, MTA is continuing to progress the work and construction. So things aren't waiting. Next slide, please. Here's some photos showing the Rock Creek Park Bridge construction. The workmen are working on the CCT portion of the construction, and above them you see those huge girders. That's part of the superstructure for the LRT bridge, which you see from a top view, from the deck view on the right side photo. Just some immense construction that's taking place. It's really exciting to be part of such an operation. It's incredible. Next slide, please. Mentioning about construction work hours, because we respect our communities, and let me also say that we hold the highest priority to not disturbing the citizens in the areas where we're working. We hope to maintain a minimal footprint, to do the work, to make the improvements, and to provide the least disruption to the public. We know some has to happen, and we try to issue all the proper notices, and I'm going to talk about our public outreach office later, where folks can communicate their concerns. We want to work with the public. We want to work with the businesses to address these concerns, and really appreciate the forbearance of everyone while we build this system. So construction work hours are typically 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, with makeup days on Saturdays as needed. However, once in a while, with proper notices, there are after-hours work activities. Only when they have to be done do we undertake that work. Utility tie-ins are dictated by the utility owners, and as I mentioned, they do occasionally happen at night. The project will send specific details out via the notification system for lane closures, night work, or weekend work as necessary. And again, we have a photo on the right there showing an excavation vehicle surrounded by a crew of properly PPP'd work personnel, where they're working on utility relocations. Next slide, please. Now let me mention our business engagement team. We have an amazing director, Simone Johnson, who's a director of our diversity, inclusion, and business engagement group. Simone's contact information is shown there, as well as her team. And these folks are dedicated to working with the businesses, addressing any impacts to the businesses, communicating with the businesses. And so Simone leads just a great group of folks, and want you to engage them and they want to hear from you. So please take this information and make use of this. Next slide, please. Staying up to date, which is very important. You can sign up for construction notices at purplelinemd.com to receive construction updates via email or text message. And again, our outreach team is available to answer questions and comments through email or phone. The outreach team, which is separate than the business engagement team, to know, there's their email address and phone numbers. And these phones are monitored by individuals. If you call, you will speak to a live individual who can take your concerns. And after hours, there's a service that takes the calls as well. So we are monitoring those outreach lines 24 hours, 7 days a week. And you can follow us on social media. We have a presence on Facebook and Twitter that we like to engage and update the public. And that brings us to the end of my presentation. And I very much welcome any questions that the group may have. Thank you for your wonderful attention this morning.
Okay, I'm going to unmute myself, and Courtney and I are seeing the questions, so I'm going to start. And if my voice gives out, I'm going to ask her to take over. But if you have questions, please put them in the chat to start, and then we'll take it from there. I do have one question. What about the bike lane on the CCT that goes down Jones Bridge? When will that be relocated? Do you have any information on that?
I'm taking a note about that. I do not at the moment. It's likely to be tied in with the work of the new design build contractor. Most infrastructure that is of significance will involve the new design builder's schedule, which until we have that design builder on board, we don't have their schedule. And so, that's part of the activities of bringing them on board. I'm pretty certain that's tied to their work, but I am taking a note about this I will look into this, and I'll get back with Jane with any additional information if that's available.
Okay, great. Thank you. What is the timetable for the first part to open? Is that still on track, or has it moved, or where are we on that?
Well, I assume that you're referring to what was previously described as a two-phase opening of the Purple Line. That schedule basically was tied to the P3 concessionaire as it formerly existed with the former design builder, and with the departure of the design builder. I need to say that the schedule for the opening, and whether or not it's a one or a two-part opening, remains to be approved as a part of the onboarding of the new design build contractor. It will be their responsibility to proffer a schedule that the MDOT MTA accepts and supports. And so we do not have that information at this time. I apologize about that.
One question, you mentioned notifications of construction schedule changes. To whom do those go? And I suppose it depends on where they are.
Yes, they go to all affected parties, businesses, residents that are affected by whatever zone of the work applies in question. And so we make a sincere effort to make sure we include everybody who is affected, and greatly apologize if anyone or any party is missed, and definitely want to hear from any folks if they are missed, so that we can amend that.
I know when we were working with the previous, with PLTC, there was an effort to, there were newsletters that came out, and there's still notifications on different sections. And then the chamber encouraged our members, at least in those various sections, to sign up for the updates individually. So I know there was that effort, and we'll of course continue to encourage people to sign up and provide this information. But I also know that there was individual outreach to, like, the businesses on Bonifant, for example. And I think, will your team, the team that you showed us on the screen, those will be the folks responsible for that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Our business engagement team,
Okay.
Their responsibility is to reach out to those businesses.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to come back and take the next question.
Those are very good questions.
On Bonifant Street East, the sidewalk is narrowed and there's not a grass panel as shown on the slide. There's concern that the catenary poles may sit in the middle of the sidewalk. Can you please take a look at that design?
Yes, I will, and I will get back with Jane on that. So we said the concern is catenary poles being in the middle of the sidewalk,
Yeah.
in the middle of the grass panel.
What was showing the grass panel, and I think, yeah, that's on the east side of Bonifant. The corner at Georgia Avenue has always been tight, no matter what, because of the way the building juts out into the sidewalk area, and then there's been a pole there, and it's always been a tight situation, and we're trying to figure out how in the world it's going to go in the future. That's been a concern for a long time, I think. That's
a very good question. I will I'll pull the plans for that, and I'll get back to Jane on what that's going to be.
Okay. The next question is, what is the next utility on Wayne Avenue scheduled to be relocated? Do you anticipate outages when relocating utilities, for example, water? And I think you already said that WSSC will do the notifications when they're turning it off. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The utilities themselves will notify their customers about the outages. Everything's scheduled in advance, and there's time notices. Which the next one will be, I can't say for certain at the moment. I will look into that. There's so many utility operations in progress that it's just got to go back and check for that area.
Okay. And I suppose the same, if you can add to that list, the same anticipation of when all the utility work on Wayne will be completed.
Okay, let me see if we have if that information is available. We certainly have, it's our objective to try to get as much as utilities relocated before September, before the new design builder comes on. But let me look back at the plans regarding Wayne Avenue and see if we have a depiction of the closure of those work activities. Okay, very good.
Back to East Bonifant. It says East Bonifant Street has a narrow sidewalk forcing pedestrians to walk close to the running trains. How much separation between the pedestrian and the train would you like to achieve?
Okay, let me again pull the plans for that. So that we want to know the separation between the sidewalk and the LRV.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we certainly want to maintain this a safe corridor for pedestrians, and I will report back on that detail. Very good.
Okay. That's the last question I have in the chat. If it's okay with you, maybe I will unmute or allow folks to raise hands or unmute folks if they want to ask any other questions. We did it kind of in an organized way.
Yes.
Okay. Before I do that, I do have one more question in the chat. We rely heavily on Verizon services, and the slated relocations on Bonifant are of particular interest. Are we able to engage with Verizon via the business specialists? Are they able to get directly to Verizon to talk to them?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand who.
This is a telecom company. Steve, right. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jane. Vernon, our company is, we're along Bonifant West. Our building abuts the work zone there. We're also a telecommunications company, and we partner with Verizon not only for services within our building, but also to deliver services through to other companies in the area. Do we have the ability to reach out through our business development rep to engage with Verizon as to what their plans are as far as the utility relocations and who we should contact? I'm sorry?
That would be great. And let me also ask another question. Are you in the business of doing utility relocations?
We do not do utility relocations.
I was going to say, because you could let them know of your availability, and who knows, they could put you to work, because there's a lot of Verizon relocation work along the alignment. And I just wanted to encourage you, in case that's your business, to offer your availability. But certainly contacting them directly, I would encourage that. And if you're not successful, and if you have questions and concerns, please contact us through our outreach office, and we will secure information that you need to help you.
Okay, thank you, Vernon. We consume Verizon services at a wholesale level. And so our concern was really with the relocations that we're made aware of when it's going to occur and when and what work is being done, so that we can be prepared in case there is some sort of unexpected outage.
Oh, yes. And, you know, the way this is supposed to happen, there is not supposed to be any unscheduled outages. And, you know, I mean, unfortunately, with construction work, sometimes something gets hit and there's such a thing that happens, but we do everything possible to avoid that. And please do reach out to Verizon, get back with us if there's more information you need, because we want to do everything possible to make sure that your services are not disrupted.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
A question that hasn't come up yet, but that I know is on some folks' minds at least, is about the Lyttonsville Place Bridge. I think we heard you say that will be completed by the new concessionaire. Yes,
it will be. Yes.
Okay. And will you ask that concessionaire to also make sure that bridge is completed before work is started on the Spring Street Bridge?
I'm making a note of that.
Because I know that was some concern of folks, that if both of those bridges were under construction at the same time, it would really create it already has, but it really creates some problems for folks trying to get around that part.
Oh, absolutely. And it's probably already taken care of in our technical provisions, because there's certain bridge arrangements where there'll be two bridges and the rules say you cannot have both of them out of service, and so there are certain arrangements about that. But let me confirm that is in place between Spring Street and Lyttonsville Bridge. I will confirm that back.
Thank you. Susan?
Is there a date certain by which the new contractor has to be selected?
Well, there, in the settlement agreement, that's a very good question, that was signed between PLTP and MDOT MTA. It specifies that it needs to take place by the end of September. However, if circumstances are such that both parties agree that we need a little more time, it can be amended. So right now it's written as the end of September, but there are provisions to allow that to be extended if that's necessary.
I assume that's September 2021.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Just checking.
Oh, no, very good question. I'm sorry I omitted that.
Does anybody else have a question that you'd like to ask? Going once, going twice? Okay, seeing none, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Vernon Hartsock, I want to thank you for joining us this morning and for giving us an update. And I will look forward to getting the answers to some of these questions from you. We will make this recording available both to everybody who is currently on the call, but as well, Julie will link it. We'll do something in our next newsletter so that other folks can take a look at it, and we may even tag it on social media. And then we'll follow up with this group specifically once I get your information in response to some of the questions that we had this morning. And yes, the slides will be available as well. Yes, Jay, no problem. We can have both of those available as well as the recording. Sometimes the slides don't mean as much without the recording, so we'll have both available, no problem. And with that, I would thank everybody and say have a great day, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Be well, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.